I want to go through a little bit more of the evidence because we have additional confirmation. That's one sort of evidence. We also have all of the experience of, we've got a hype train coming, nice. All of the experience of what we've seen over the past few years that is not coming from anonymous sources, that is all right out there. So in terms of the language, would he speak this way? You might recall that it's now deleted, but he had once tweeted, "I would like to extend my best wishes to all, even the haters and losers on this special date, September 11th. You know, that's not necessarily about veterans specifically, but you get that he doesn't necessarily hold a lot of like the ability to venerate things or like feel humbled by the weight of history. So
decency
what else do we have?
As well, like humbled. That's decency not it. It's well, decency, yeah. The ability to revere anything other than himself.
Yeah. And in terms of his other comments and opinions and thoughts about the military, so he said visiting troops in combat zones is not overly necessary. A former senior White House official told the Washington Post that Trump is afraid of those situations. He's afraid people would want to kill him. So he doesn't think that we need to honor them by going, these aren't the dead vets, these are going to actually visit them. And so he's done it incredibly sparingly as president. So you had the incredibly public feud with John McCain, with him openly saying, "I like people who weren't captured." That is effectively the same as all of this Atlantic stuff. And he did it in public and they didn't care about that either. Then when John McCain died in August 2018, Trump told his senior staff, according to 3 sources with direct knowledge of this event, "We're not going to support that loser's funeral." And he became furious when he saw flags lowered to half staff. What the F are we doing that for? Guy was an effing loser. This feud was entirely out in the open. We might have some new details from the Atlantic story, but we saw all of this operating. And even way after John McCain had died, he continues to make unnecessary digs at him, including, and this is a great one from Daniel Dale, and really the stolen valor is amazing. Trump's specific argument against John McCain on veterans issues, McCain, Trump has said, failed to get veterans choice passed while he, Trump, did get it passed. It was John McCain's initiative signed into law in 2014. He says McCain failed on this, I succeeded, when it was passed before he was president and it was John McCain's bill, which is just amazing. Just amazing. So we got more, but feel free. What's going on?
What does he think the Veterans Choice Bill is?
Yes, no idea.
What is this thing that he thinks he passed into law that was literally John McCain's bill? I don't know. This needs to be a big story for a very, very 60-day long time.
Exactly. And the thing is, we have other, like his attempt to pretend that he has empathy. Do you remember Maisha Johnson, the widow of one of our soldiers lost abroad? Trump called her to make her feel better, I guess. That was the idea. It didn't happen since Trump, according to her, couldn't remember my husband's name. And he also said to her that LaDavid, the lost soldier, quote, knew what he had signed up for. And so you might think, well, that's according to her. That's what happened on the call. But the thing is, Trump's feud with the widow of a fallen soldier didn't stay on the phone call. He continued it in public, tweeting, "I had a very respectful conversation with the widow of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson and spoke his name from beginning without hesitation, calling her a liar." Because he hadn't done enough damage to her in the private call, he had to take it public, and she was, of course, incredibly harassed after that. Brett already referred to the feud he had with Kaiser Khan. So, following a critical speech by Kaiser Khan, whose son, Captain Humayun Khan, was killed during the Iraq War back in 2004, Trump said, "If you look at his wife, she was standing there. She had nothing to say. Maybe she wasn't allowed to have anything to say," which was, I'm assuming, was an incredibly Islamophobic attack against these 2 parents that had lost their kid. The mother said that she didn't trust herself to speak at this event because despite the fact that her son had fallen so many years before, having to talk about this, knowing that Trump might become the commander in chief, would have caused her to break down, so she chose not to speak. But he mocked them in that way publicly. And I just got one more. So in terms of sacrifice and what makes you a loser, a sucker, what sorts of sacrifices are worth it? Trump also took on Khan's criticism about sacrifices, saying he had made, quote, a lot of sacrifices. Pressed by George Stephanopoulos of examples of those, he said he had created thousands and thousands of jobs and built great structures, which George Stephanopoulos noted, and many other people did, is not an example of sacrifices, but also not out of the ordinary for his family, because Don Jr., talking about his trip to Arlington National Cemetery, said he got emotional about the sacrifices those soldiers had committed and said that he too had committed sacrifices, voluntarily giving up a huge chunk of their business. and their international deals. It was a big sacrifice, costing us millions and millions of dollars. So this whole family is sick. It's rotten to its core. Maybe Don Jr. has the capacity for some sort of empathy, but it has been trained out of him by his father. And everything about this reporting from The Atlantic, Trump has been trying to convince us that this is how he views the troops for literally years. The idea that we would reject it now makes absolutely no sense.
It's very obvious all the things that are happening. How do we communicate this to like Trump supporters? Does it matter to them? Like things they believe to be true. I believe that they think this is true, that Donald Trump is a great leader of their side who, when he says he makes sacrifices, they believe it. Like, no, all of it is, you say it's a sacrifice, but it's an investment. It's an investment in your company. Oh, my sacrifice to give up portions of it. What portions? Show me. And then also like, so you're telling me that your overall brand, in your opinion, when you entered into this, your overall brand for the Trump administration, and it will be hurt by you and your dad becoming president of the United States and first bastard. Like, is that it? You honestly want people to believe that that is a sacrifice? It isn't. And building great structures like this, the result is a building. How is that a sacrifice? That's the core of your business. No, you just want people to think it's a sacrifice because all you do is lie to people all day, every day. And I just don't think they can lie about this. And I think we need to think about it as like bursting people's bubbles. Find out where that information bubble is of people that you know, and just get this in front of them, this article and all the supporting materials. Just burst their bubble because that's what they're living in. And the right has invested so much money in completely walling off information from their supporters. And we need to like drop pamphlets into their East Germany.
That's good. That's more historical knowledge than Trump has about what happened during that time. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.